Hello, my name is David Fielder, an actor, here to represent a talk given by Eugene Halliday in the 1970s to the Institute for the Study of Hierological Values. The title of the lecture is God as Projectionist and will be divided into 3 sections of roughly half an hour each. We're going to talk about God as projectionist. Now, a projectionist ordinarily might be thought to be a man in a cinema, in a box, pointing a projecting device through a small hole to throw a beam of light onto a screen, on which will appear, if the machine is correctly threaded, a picture of some interest. Not something terribly boring like Japanese films of fossils. Now, if you get the analogy, you will find that it is very exact. First of all, the unseen man, the projector, whom nobody knows is there, and to whom all are indebted for his efficiency, mechanical knowledge, and awareness of which end of the film goes in first. When I was a boy, they used to have films that went in, not first end first, but anything, with slight apologies, inserted on still slides. But that is a long, long time ago, and we're now terribly efficient. But all the efficiency that man has acquired, he has acquired by studying laws of nature. And laws of nature are projections. Now, you all know, you up-to-date mods, that matter is energy. That is basic physics. Some of you believe that that is true, some are slightly unsure. But it really is true. It's no longer theoretical. Matter is energy. Energy, and this is not so much in the scientific textbooks yet, energy is sentient. It feels itself. It feels what it does, and what it does is either closing or opening a situation. Now, imagine the whole universe is energy. The energy, as the word implies in its etymology, is doing work. The erg, the ERG in energy, is the unit of work. Christ says, "My Father works and I work." And the word Father means generative power. So when you think about God, you're not thinking about a funny man sitting in the sky somewhere far away. You are thinking about the energy that is generating your being here and now. Now, if that energy were to cease operating now, you would promptly disintegrate. So when you think about God, do not be intimidated by the word, by the weight of religious terminology behind it, by the guilt associated with it, by the sin associated with it. When you hear the word God, just translate generative, intelligent power, wherever it may appear. God is omnipresent, means that the universe is entirely energy. There is nowhere where there is not energy, power at work at a certain rate per second. Now, you measure it in ergs per second. Units of energy measurement per second is power. Now, once you've accepted that power is sentient, which is quite easy to prove in your own being, all you have to do is get hold of yourself, literally, somehow, and exert pressure on yourself. Now, you'll find that whenever you do so, you become more aware of yourself in the part where you're pressing, more aware than you were before. For instance, one thing, a friendly helping force is gravity. That keeps you on your seat. Now, if you would put your mind into your posteriors, you will find pressure. So will you please shift your consciousness and put it into the lower regions and feel the weight of your body sitting on those lovely big muscles that are especially there for sitting on. And you will be aware that you're pressing downwards. A force called gravity is trying to get you to go to the centre of the earth, and luckily for you, you're not able to go to the centre of the earth because the earth is so densely packed that your relatively less densely packed body cannot penetrate the earth. If it could, you'd vanish to the centre of the earth and stay there. But this intelligent power has actually condensed itself in the solar system, in the planets, in life forms, minerals, vegetables, animals, humans. They're all working energy. Energy is power at work. Once you allow that this energy is sentient, you can deal with it more effectively. If you think it is not sentient, cannot feel itself, then you can't talk to it. When you have a stiff muscle and you say to that muscle, relax, you will find that if you believe it, your cells in the zone of tension will begin to relax. You can tell yourself to relax, and you will do so, in the same way as you can tell yourself to contract, to tense. Usual demonstration. See, make a fist, relax your hand. Yeah, don't be afraid to do it. Audience participation is not a sign of inferior intelligence. It's a sign of intent to get the message. Now, don't be afraid to flop about. Feel it. Now let it relax. And then start paying attention to what I'm talking about for a moment. And then you'll find that if you are paying attention to what I'm saying, relatively your hand will lapse from your consciousness. Is that true? Right. When you are relaxed totally, you become totally unaware. That totally unaware condition, hypotension, less tension than needed for maintaining life, produces a very, very sloppy type of person. Oh, they do exist. Luckily, of course, they are very rare, otherwise very little work would be done. No efficient British railways, etc., etc., etc. Now, you can also take this floppy hand and you can deliberately bring it by increased tension to a fist. Go. Make a fist. Yeah. Hit yourself like this. Now, what happens when you do that? Aren't you aware more that you have a fist and a recipient hand? Hit yourself hard on the hand and feel the cells. Can you feel those cells tingling? Are you not therefore more aware that your hand, the struck hand especially, has got more tingling than the other? Now, why do you think that the one you struck feels more than the other one? The striking one you are not so aware of in the cells as you are in the struck. Which is, why is that? The struck one was not expecting it. Now, when you are passive and you're dreaming and something goes thump like that to you suddenly, the struck part is not expecting it and tingles and starts crying out and says, injustice exists in the world. But the one that's struck doesn't say injustice. Now it says, you lazy, lousy, dreamy, drippy thing. You deserve another. And now my thigh is tingling. Now, my thigh is used to that, so it doesn't say injustice. It's got the message. Now, if it says it again, I'll hit it again. You see, we have no right whatever to be asleep. You know, Christ says, wake up. He's a very good fellow, and he means what he says. Wake, or you will be treated as the dead. There are the quick, those alert and ready, and there are, with them mingled, more of them than the others, the dead. Dead means inert. Dead means in the groove, routine. asleep in a process with which the intelligence is identified. Now, these are manifestations of energy. Matter is energy. Please engrave in head, heart, and tongue, matter is energy, sentient energy. Sentient energy is spirit. Spirit is initiative. Spirit is initiative. Now, how do you account for the fact that there is inertia if in fact all matter is energy? All energy is operation of spirit, and spirit is initiative. It's a very simple solution. Spirit, that is initiative, reposits itself deliberately like this. Fist, let go. Fist, let go. Fist, let go. Now, think about that very carefully. It's the mystery of Faust, which has two meanings in German, one of which is fist. First, the thing you do, violence to get your own way. The second thing you do is get bumped by another of the same mind. The third thing you do is think. First you will thump, then you create a reaction. The reaction, if unpleasant enough, will provoke you to think. Thinking is a direct product of frustrated will. Will is a fiat, a power that says, let there be. And when it says, let there be, then there is, providing one thing, that there's no other will about at the time saying, let there be not. Or you say, let there be tiger, and somebody else says in the same place, or let there be chameleon. Now, it depends on the strength of will, the power of the will of the contestants. You all know the fairy stories about two magicians who battle. They have a tremendous fight, and one magician identifies himself as a carrot, and the other one becomes a donkey and eats him. Inside the donkey, the carrot changes form, and the donkey gets diarrhea, and the magician emerges at the other end in the form of a salamander or some other creature, and they keep changing form. And they have this tremendous battle. Who will tire first? And the magicians have a rule. And the rule is a nice rule. Something's got to give. It doesn't have to be me. That's a very important rule. In a contest of wills, it is entirely a matter of will and nothing else about who is going to win. So that in fact, the winner is always the one who persists longest in willing. Now, if we look at the word project, because we're talking about God as a projectionist, the ject part is from a Latin word meaning to throw. And the it means several things. Project means for and before. And also pyro equals rationale. When you have a project that you intend to fulfill, you have rationalized, you have made a pattern of events inside your mind, and this pattern of events holding in your mind, you then empower. Again, the rule is very simple. If you have a truth that you love, you will act on it. Have the truth, love it because it's true, activate it because you love it. Make mental note, or even scribble, pencil note, legible please. I don't want you saying next week, I've got a note here, I can't read it. Would you mind telling me what it is? The note is simple. Truth, beauty, goodness. Truth is form, intellectual form. Beauty is your feeling. The psychologists call it the affect, your degree of like or dislike. And good refers to the will. The word good is the same word as will, go. Truth, beauty, goodness. If it's true, love it. It is beautiful. If it is beautiful, will it, do it. Now, the man in the projection box is invisible, in the same way God is invisible. We will now see why God is invisible under ordinary circumstances. God is an infinite sentient power. Remember, he's not a funny old man far away. He's an infinite sentient power. And that power is a continuum. Now, the essence of a continuum is this. A continuum has no parts. It is not made of separate particles like atoms. It is non-discrete. It is non-broken. It's like a line drawn or a plane painted without a break. Imagine infinite power, a continuum. No breaks, no edges. Now, if it has no edges, you cannot see it. Any dissenters, please? Can you see something that has no edges? No. Have you ever been in a Scotch mist? Can you see it? No. What do you see? It's that you don't see that you know it's a Scotch mist. And because of the blockage, you feel the blockage and you think, that's something you're seeing. You know, you can actually see a negation. When you're in a bad, negative mood, you feel that you can see nothing. Life is meaningless. And that's only because you are blocked. You're not seeing. You're not seeing that. You're seeing a negative and not see. Now, think very, very clearly about this. The infinite, by definition, is infinite, not finite. But it is also within any finite that there is, because the infinite is necessarily omnipresent. It is extended. Infinitely means that there is nowhere where it is not. That means there is nowhere whatever that there is not God, not sentient power. Sentient power is omnipresent. It is here in this room. We are inside it. We're like fish sitting up. Some fish do sit up, and we're in the ocean of power, which is called God. Now, at the top of the hierarchy of the church, they've always known this. I want you to make a sign of Mercury. Do you know how to make a sign of Mercury? You do a semicircle, and then below it, a circle, and then a cross below the circle. Semicircle, circle, cross. Having drawn this beautiful figure, write spirit, soul, body. Now, the spirit means free initiative. This is why you have a semicircle with the other part not drawn. Now, the not drawn part of it is the infinite. The drawn, the lower half of the circle, is the finite. And this symbolizes the moon, the crescent moon. If you were to go to the British Museum and dig in the manuscripts there, unfortunately I've never had time, but if you were to go, you would find a drawing of the moon, and below it the sun, and then a cross. Now, imagine the moon is the sign of spirit, because the moon symbolizes a casket, a container, which is holding the invisible. And of course the moon is feminine, and that feminine is holding an invisible masculine, the infinite spirit. And immediately below the moon there is the sign of the sun. It's a circle with a dot in the middle. That's the astronomical mark of the sun. And that mark signifies the earth is a cross in a circle in astronomy. So as to your physical body, you are pinned. You are crucified in existence on earth, so that the cross below the circle symbolizes your physicality. The fact that you are pinned. You've got bones there. You have to deal with them. If you bang them, they can get on a funny bone or a nerve. And you can feel that you are somehow mysteriously exposed because you have a physical body. Physical body crucifixion. Remember that, because it's tremendously important when we come to consider the meaning of incarnation. Above that cross is a circle symbolizing the soul. Solo. S-O-U-L. S-O-L-O. You are only called a soul if you are solo. If you are able to do, in principle, your own thing. And above the soul, the psyche, is the pneuma, the spirit. The spirit is only drawn by a semicircle because the other half of it is infinite. Use that symbol and refer to it throughout all the work and thinking that you do. You are spirit, the invisible infinite. You have become ensouled, and you have identified with a physical body. Now, imagine power absolute is invisible. The invisible power is God, and they have always known this at the top level of the hierarchy of the church. But they have a very, very good theory. I shall try to deal with it euphemistically. Some beings are not fit to receive the truth. Some beings are woolly-minded and are called sheep. And these have to be taken care of by shepherds. Now, I'm going to tell you a very, very hard saying. It's about a hard saying. It's a hard saying about a hard saying. I'm thinking about St. Paul saying, I have a doctrine of strong meat. And to the early Christians, he calmly said, but you're not fit to receive it. You are only babes. Now imagine that. The founder of the Pauline Church has been called the Appalling Church by some critics. I have a doctrine of strong meat which you are not fit for, my dear woolly-minded nincompoops. Therefore, I will bottle feed you on lanolin. You know, lanolin is extracted from sheep's wool. Did you know that? Well, do you think that's kind? To get sheep, take their wool, squeeze the oil out of it, and then bottle feed them with it? Well, I think it's very sensible, don't you? It's economic. Anything that's economic is okay. Now, a doctrine of strong meat, which some beings called woolly-headed sheeps, mouton, or whatever you care to think about them, the mutton-headed, are not fit for. And why are they not fit for it? Because it is very frightening. Now, let me see if I can frighten you. If what St. Paul is saying is true, then you have a good cause to tremble in your wool. What he is saying is this: you are absolutely, not relatively, absolutely responsible for whatever happens to you and has happened to you. It is a statement of total responsibility. Will you please appropriately tremble? If this doctrine is true, you are absolutely responsible for your present position. It is your thought, your feeling, your will that has put you exactly where you are. You are responsible. That is liable to be called to account by a superior power who knows that he is responsible. How do you spell it? If you spell it with an I-B-L-E, ible, that means you are merely passive to people above you who can call you to account for your misdemeanors. So to say total responsibility means that you can be called to account. Not being called to account in Indian philosophy, being called to account, in Indian philosophy, in Hinduism and in Buddhism is karma. And karma is a very interesting word. K-A-R-M-A. Take out the R from the middle of it, gives you a word kama. Kama, K-A-M-A. Now, kama is the Hindu Cupid and refers to your cupidity, your desireful nature. Inserting the letter R in it means to be ruled by it. So karma means to be ruled by your desires. Your desires, your cupidity, will lead you into a situation. And when you get into it, you will be differentiated by the experience to which you have exposed yourself. And this fact that when you go into a situation, you are acted upon by the situation in which you put yourself is karma. And this same doctrine is said by St. Paul to be strong meat, not for babies. Because there are a large number of people in the world who, if they really believed that they were responsible for everything they did, they would become totally locked up. They would be terrified of the things they have already done and not yet paid for. Thank you. That brings us to the end of the first part of God as Projectionist.